New tonight on Our News, live at 7, back in court. The corruption trial of embattled Long Island opposition MP Adrian Gibson could begin this week if the Court of Appeal doesn't grant a stay. Find out the ruling by Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson coming up. Plus, the Coalition of Independents weighing in on the recent Shantytown Supreme Court ruling, saying they believe an appeal is necessary. The two top-ranking members had a lot to say to our Bethany McDermott about the recent ruling on shantytowns. And later, every drop counts. Find out how the Small Business Development Center is partnering with a local healthcare facility to give the gift of blood.
And the only way that we can ensure that we continue to help or assist the hospitals is to make sure to donate blood, and that's what we're doing here today.
And then in our news at 7:30, a grieving family left behind. Tonight, our Jasmine Brown speaks exclusively with the daughter of the Bahamian couple killed in the 1996 Value Jet flight that went plunging into Florida's Everglades. Welcome to Our News live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jamila Mizik. The corruption trial of embattled Long Island opposition MP Adrian Gibson could begin on Thursday if the Court of Appeal doesn't grant a stay. Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson refused to stop Gibson's trial after she rejected arguments that he couldn't have a fair trial. His lawyer Muriel DeSeal had argued that Gibson would be prejudiced in his defense if his former fiancée Alexandria Mackey and the prosecution's key witness testified virtually. However, Grant Thompson found the arguments were misconceived. As a result, she said the trial should continue and scheduled jury selection for Thursday. Mackey claimed that she was afraid to testify in person after she was allegedly attacked by Gibson in December 2021. In other news, 5 suspects are facing criminal charges after a high-powered gun and ammunition was found in their home. 5 Ludlow Street residents, that includes 2 women ages 25 and 23 years old and 3 men ages 60, 30, and 19 years old, were arrested and charged for possession of an unlicensed firearm and ammunition. The arrest came when officers attached to the anti-gang and firearm unit executed a search warrant on a home on Ludlow Street. Meanwhile, police in Eleuthera need the public's help searching for suspects believed to be responsible for a shooting that injured a 22-year-old Governor's Harbor resident. Police say around 10:28 p.m. on Sunday, the victim was riding his motorcycle in James Cistern when the occupants of a white truck opened fire on him. The victim was struck in the lower body. The suspects then sped off and were able to escape. The victim was examined at the local clinic and then airlifted to New Providence for further treatment at PMH. The Coalition of Independents weighing in on the recent Shantytown Supreme Court ruling, saying they believe an appeal is necessary. Bethany McDermott has the details.
2 top-ranking members of the Coalition of Independents had a lot to say about the recent ruling on shantytowns. COI Deputy Leader Maria Daxon.
That means they can build on anybody's land without permission. First of all, everybody in this country knows that you need permission. It's 4 stages. Your foundation, how you get all the way to build a whole entire building and ain't going through the Ministry of Works. And in other words, what this new PLP government is saying, this is acceptable.
The ruling handed down by Chief Justice Sir Ian Winder made way for only 2 structures on an Abaco shantytown to be demolished. The government was looking to demolish over 200 homes in various shantytowns. COI leader Lincoln Bain says it seems no one has the political will to handle the issue.
They could have gone through the building codes and they can demolish any building in this country, and there are Bahamians who have experienced that, where their building or parts of their building were demolished or ordered demolished. And so they can do something about it.
Bain went as far as to call the shantytown matter a serious humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, Daxon says the Attorney General must appeal the ruling.
If the Attorney General don't appeal this, these people is going to continue. What is going to stop them? Nothing.
Bain reiterated the strong stance on the matter is not through the eyes of discrimination against foreigners.
We're not anti-Haitian or Jamaican or American. We want you to come the right way so that our country can manage its resources properly and know how we can work together. Yes, you are free to come and help us build our country, but come through the front door.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks, Berthany. It's time now for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is standing by in the Weather Center. Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, good evening, Jamila, and good evening, everybody. Warm day around the islands. Temperatures managed to get up into the mid to upper 80s. We are now down to 80 degrees with a few clouds outside. Those winds are light initially, but they are still picking up out there out of the northeast at 12 miles per hour with some higher gusts. And your feels like temperature is at 80 degrees. Temperatures around the islands tonight, it's 79 in Freeport and in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, 81 in Alistown, Bimini, Nicholstown, Andros, 80 over in Great Harbor Key, Governor's Harbor, 79, Central Bahamas, we have 82 in Kemps Bay, 79 in Arthurstown, Cat Island, we had pick up a 78 there in Coburn Town, San Salvador, 81 in Georgetown, Deadman's Key, Long Island, you guys are 82, and in the southeast Bahamas, low 80s there with 83 in Duncantown, Rigel Island, more 82s popping up in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Delectable Bay, Abrahams Bay, Providenciales, you guys are 81. Deep South, Matthewtown, Inagua, you round out our temperature profile at 84. On our satellite radar composite, we have an upper level low. You'll notice a counterclockwise spin right across the northwest Bahamas. That's an upper level low that's been triggering some showers and thunderstorms mainly across the central and southeast Bahamas over the past couple of days. Most of the showers now concentrated across the southeast Bahamas, but that upper level low will continue to weaken. Most of the activity is going out into the open Atlantic. At the surface, we have a high pressure system that's in charge. That's going to generate some very nice boating conditions over the next couple of days, but those temperatures will remain very hot throughout the remainder of the week. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, should corporal punishment be allowed in schools? Tonight, the Bahamas Union of Teachers president weighs in on the discussion. Her comments in just a moment. Then in tonight's Work in Progress segment, our Marlena Leonard has the breakdown on what's next to come for the Village Road Improvement Project, as well as how it will impact motorists. And then on this day in Bahamian history, in 1973, the Bahamas Independence Bill was read for a second time in the British House of Commons. The details of that story and more, that's coming up when our news returns.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Shareholders are very happy.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
The discussion continues on corporal punishment in schools, with Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson weighing in on the issue. In March, a police officer was accused of allegedly beating students at a Bimini primary school. Wilson says it is clearly outlined in the penal code who is allowed to administer corporal punishments.
Under Article 110 of the Penal Code, as it relates to administering of corporal punishment in schools, that can be done by a principal, vice principal, senior master, senior mistress, following guidelines set out by the Department of Education.
Recently, Education Minister Glenys Hannah Martin acknowledging the need to explore different ways to administer corporal punishment. Wilson says the union stands ready to engage in those discussions with the ministry whenever the time is right.
Yes, there is a need for wide discussions on corporal punishment in schools. However, it must go further than just talk and rhetoric. There must be a review of the laws, policies, practices, and procedures in all aspects surrounding corporal punishment. And definitely, what innovative methods and strategies may be used instead.
Of the day, as a local business partners with both hospitals to help bring relief to blood banks. Our Joshua Williams has the details.
With the continued need for blood in medical institutions, blood drives have been popping up around the country. The Small Business Development Center and Doctors Hospital, the latest to partner up. SBDC Human Resource Manager Kianza Brennan, who also gave blood, calling the effort a community initiative.
We are a small organization, but we want to ensure that we do our part, and that's why I said we wanted to take the first step just to ensure that we are here. We wanted to let persons know that we are part of the community, and there's no other way to be a part of the community than to make sure that you do your part within the community.
Darwin Russell was not able to give blood, but participated in the health screening.
You really need to know your health status, right, at all times. Right now, they tell me I have high blood pressure, so I have to go check to make sure that stays in check. As you get older, these things kind of happen, but you have to make sure if you do this regularly that you hopefully avoid some of these surprises.
I also decided to participate in the health screening with the medical professionals on hand.
Ready? Mm-hmm. There you go. You didn't feel that, right?
132/85.
Oh, that's great.
Is that good? That's great?
Yes. That's excellent.
Oh, perfect.
Registered nurse Janae Poitier encouraging more residents to be screened and donate blood.
We normally have promotions on social media or on the radio, so they can listen out to see when we will be having showcases or we will be at different locations doing screenings. Blood save lives. At any point in time, it could be you that needs a blood donation, so we encourage Bahamians in general to always give back and to give donations as much as possible.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Good stuff there, Joshua. Lots of work has already gone into the Village Road Improvement Project, and the next target will be leveling manholes that currently pose a safety threat to motorists. Our Marlena Leonard has more in tonight's segment of Work in Progress.
The Village Road Improvement Project is in the final stages of their complete overhaul and renewal of one of the country's busiest roads. We've seen them discuss the road itself, as well as plans for improved sidewalks along the major thoroughfare. Now they're going a step further to address something that may seem like a small inconvenience, but can pose a safety issue when it's your turn to dodge them.
There's a few areas along the project where the BTC Cable Bahamas manholes are at just a little bit off on the pavement elevation. So imagine, there's like an inch or half an inch difference. Motoring public tends to try to dodge when they see manholes in the road, and so the road is functional. However, the manholes create a safety issue. So we have undertaken and we have continued to work with BTC Cable Bahamas (BPL) to ensure that any manhole in the road and water and sewage, any manhole in the road is adjusted to suit the road elevation correctly.
And while much of the driving public has had the experience of dodging manholes, much like they would a pothole, the resident engineer says the ultimate concern is emergency vehicles and passengers who may hit the manholes at high speeds.
The main concern with having manholes at the right elevation is when ambulance and service vehicles pass through. You want to ensure the safe ride for persons on board ambulances. And so we're very keen on ensuring that the road is as smooth as possible.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as a powerful cyclone hits the coastlines of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Plus, find out why hundreds of members of Cuba's LGBT community staged a colorful parade through the streets of Havana. And free health care for teen patients in Dominica. Hear why Dominica's Prime Minister says those citizens should have access to medical care. We have the details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. President Tayyip Erdogan Erdogan led comfortably in the first round of Turkey's election, with his rival facing an uphill struggle to prevent him extending his rule into a third decade in a runoff vote on May 28th. Turkish media reported Erdogan had just below the 5% threshold needed to avoid sending the NATO member country to a second round of a presidential election. Erdogan's People's Alliance, comprising his Islamist-rooted AK party and its nationalist partners, also appeared set to win a majority in the new parliament with 321 of the 600 seats, further boosting his chances in the presidential runoff. Speculation continues to swirl around Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko's health after he missed a major state celebration. The 68-year-old usually speaks publicly at the annual national flag emblem and anthem day event, but his prime minister read a message on his behalf on Sunday. Last week, Mr. Lukashenko left Moscow soon after Victory Day parade, skipping lunch with President Vladimir Putin. He was last seen in public on May 9th. His administration is backed by Russia. Meanwhile, a powerful cyclone has hit the coastlines of Bangladesh and Myanmar after intensifying into the equivalent of a Category 5 storm. Olivia Chan has more.
Storm surges whipped up by a powerful cyclone inundated the Myanmar port city of Sittwe on Sunday. Winds of up to 130 miles per hour ripped away tin roofs and brought down a communications tower. Parts of Sittwe, the capital of Myanmar's Rakhine state, were flooded. Some 400,000 people were evacuated in the country and low-lying neighboring Bangladesh. Authorities and aid agencies are scrambling to avert heavy casualties from one of the strongest storms to hit the region in recent years. Myanmar has been plunged into chaos since the junta seized power 2 years ago. After a crackdown on protests, a resistance movement is fighting the military on various fronts. Across Rakhine State and the northwest of the country, about 6 million people were already in need of humanitarian assistance. 1.2 million people have been displaced, according to the UN Humanitarian Office. In Bangladesh, authorities moved around 300,000 people to safer areas before the storm hit. Rohingya refugees inside densely populated camps in the Cox's Bazar in the southeast of the country hunkered down inside their ramshackle homes. More than 1 million Rohingya refugees, 500,000 children among them, live in sprawling camps prone to flooding and landslides after having fled a military-led crackdown in Myanmar in 2017.
Hundreds of members of Cuba's LGBT community staged a colorful parade through the streets of Havana, marching against homophobia in the first public demonstration of its kind to take place on the island following the approval last year of a new family law allowing same-sex marriage. The event is held annually by the National Center for Sex Education of Cuba to mark the International Day Against Homophobia on May 17th. Mariela Castro, director of Cinesex and daughter of former Cuban President Raul Castro, led the parade on Saturday alongside Cuba's First Lady and other government and Communist Party officials. In 2022, Cubans approved gay marriage and adoption by LGBT couples overwhelmingly. And the Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit, announcing the Dominica-China Friendship Hospital is offering free medical care to patients 16 through 18 years old. Skerrit's announcement came during a recent press conference where he said the policy won't change until his administration decides to. The Dominica PM also insisting this conforms with the international requirement ensuring that every citizen has access to medical care, irrespective of their economic circumstances. Still to come in our news, find out interesting facts about the day that was May 15th, including the 1973 second reading of the Bahamas Independence Bill in the British House of Commons. Plus, at the bottom of the hour, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. And then in our news at 7:30, a family still grieves after nearly 30 years. Tonight, our Jasmine Brown speaks exclusively with the daughter of the Bahamian couple killed in the 1996 Value jet flight that went plunging into Florida's Everglades. That's coming up when our news returns. Welcome back to our news. It's now time to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was May 15th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history, in 1973, the Bahamas Independence Bill was read for a second time in the British House of Commons. That day, then British Prime Minister of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs, Robert Lindsay, moved the bill be read a second time. In introducing the bill, Lindsay pointed to the historical connection Britain has with the Bahamas and the constitutional developments which resulted in the Bahamas' request for independence. Before the bill was read in the House of Commons, the Bahamian House of Assembly and the Senate passed a resolution on November 2nd, 1972, requesting independence. At the same time, they also passed a resolution making clear the country should remain a monarchy within the Commonwealth. And in 2012, former radio talk show host Chrissy Love Thompson spoke out about her dramatic exit from the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas after she was informed her services were no longer needed, something she says shocked and perturbed her. Thompson also saying there was nothing mutual about her dismissal. The veteran broadcaster accused the Progressive Liberal Party of victimization and sexism after her termination. The former hostess of Immediate Response told the press her termination highlights that freedom of speech is dead in the Bahamas. In a press release from the BCB, the corporation said the separation was mutual.
I don't understand what the statement from the Broadcasting Corporation means, because it was not mutual at all. And I don't understand, right after election, if my contract is going to end in 11 weeks, why fire me unceremoniously? Yes, I'm outspoken. Yes, I have my opinions. Yes, I have my biases, like any talk show host. But I just would like to know what's going on.
And finally, in 2019, a row erupted in the House of Assembly as then Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and then opposition leader Philip Davis went head-to-head over the decision to place 8 senior members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force on leave. The two locked horns during Davis's contribution to debate on a proposed amendment to the Police Staff Association Act as he accused the Minnis administration of politicizing the police force. The officers were asked to take their many weeks of accumulated vacation that year. But Dr. Minnis insisted the police force was too top-heavy and placed the blame on the former Christy Davis administration.
No. Don't present view. You present the view. Honorable member. Present the facts. Which is more important. A view are the facts. Honorable member. The facts is it's top-heavy. And it's top-heavy as a result of you. The evidence are here. Listen, you are a lawyer. Which is more important in court? The rule of facts or the rule of opinion? Do you want me to give you the list of others you could have let go and sent home to like that? Because you were selective in the process. You were selective in the process. You were selective. You don't have to give me a list. You were selective. Give me a list. But if ever, and you never will, sit in this chair, if ever and you never will, then you can look up the list yourself.
May 15th is recognized annually by the United Nations as International Day of Families. Founder of Marriage, Children, Family Alliance Movement, Cheryl Joaquin Alexandri says the day is designed to bring greater awareness to the importance of families in society.
This year, the focus is on demographic trends and families. In 2020, it was climate change. In 2021, we had the technological advances, and last year it was urbanization and migration. So these are trends that have been found to be very impactful for families, and we need to pay attention to.
Senior pastor at Bahamas Faith Ministries, Pastor Dave Burrows, stressing the importance of building a strong family.
Family is intact. It makes a big difference in the development of a child. And children were really never meant to grow up in the world without a family.
Now to watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. That does it for our news at 7. Joining us now is our Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia.
Yes, Jamila, thanks so much. Happy Monday. Well, coming up tonight, a leader at a tertiary institution weighing in on the country's constitution and says what may need to change. Also, 5 residents in Grand Bahama gifted with new homes. Here are your latest headlines.
Rewriting fundamental principles. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. Hear why a university president says it may be time to rewrite the country's constitution.
What we should focus on, in my view, is the opportunity after 50 years to create a new constitution.
Plus, a serious crime is now in the hands of investigators as 2 women were assaulted in central New Providence. We have the details from police. And almost 30 years ago, 2 Bahamians lost their lives on a ValueJet flight. And an Our News exclusive, the daughter of the victim speaks with our Jasmine Brown about the tragic ordeal. And did you know that you can be a hero by donating blood, as you can potentially save a life? Tonight, a healthcare professional at Doctors Hospital is calling on more donors to come forward. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. There have been many discussions about potential amendments to the Constitution, but now there's an academic voice in the crowd suggesting we consider rewriting our Constitution altogether. Our Marlena Leonard has more in this report.
What we should focus on, in my view, is the opportunity after 50 years to create a new constitution.
That's Dr. Ian Strawn, Executive Vice President and Campus President at UB North, responding to questions about whether the Bahamas should drop the British monarch as our head of state, saying we need to stop looking at individual issues and consider a complete overhaul of our Constitution instead.
I think there are a number of things are converging. I think the recent Privy Council ruling following the Ian Winder decision throws into high focus the dysfunctional elements of our Constitution. And this is an opportunity for us to, again, have a national conversation about the kind of nation we want.
Dr. Strawn also suggests the revisions could also determine how we elect leadership in the country.
I'm one of those people who doesn't think that the first past the post system gives us the best model of representation. In other words, of the will of the people being represented. We've seen in our history where the popular vote has not translated into actually a party winning the government.
He says with 50 years under our belts, nothing restricts us from crafting a new way forward for the next 50.
Let's be bold, let's be optimistic, and let's believe in ourselves and believe that we can, just as we are convening to talk about these things as academics, that as a nation we could talk about the kind of country we want to have, and we can have a constitution that reflects the values that we have today.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, thanks, Marlena. Well, a woman who knocked down a pedestrian and failed to stop has pleaded guilty to vehicular manslaughter. Prosecutors allege that Altanice Roll of Pine Cone Close was the driver in the February 14, 2022 crash that killed Sandy Roll as he walked to work on John F. Kennedy Drive around 1:40 a.m. Roll pleaded guilty when she appeared before Justice Gregory Hilton. She's the first person to be charged under the amended Road Traffic Act that implemented a maximum sentence of 10 years imprisonment for vehicular manslaughter. Roll remains on bail and returns to court in June for a sentencing hearing. A 22-year-old man is behind bars after being accused of a shooting that left a man on bail for murder dead. Prosecutors say Trayvon Taylor and another fatally shot Pedrito Mejas Jr. and attempted to murder Dion Excellent on April 25th. At the time of his murder, Mejas was on bail for the 2019 murder of Gerardo Thompson in Fox Hill. Taylor was not required to enter pleas to the charges of murder and attempted murder. Bail was denied and he returns to court on August 30th. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding an alleged sexual assault and armed robbery of two women ages 37 and 35 this morning. Police say shortly after 2:20, the victims were asleep at their apartment in the Chippenham community when the two men entered the home through a window. One of the men pulled out a gun and robbed the victims of an undisclosed amount of cash. After the robbery, both suspects sexually assaulted the victims before leaving the apartment, and one of the victims read Nissan note. Now investigations are continuing. A 28-year-old man from Dundasstown, Abaco, is in hot water after police says he was found with an illegal gun. Around 12:40 a.m., officers attached to the Abaco division got a tip about an armed suspect at a business on George Albury Boulevard. When officers got to the store, they saw the suspect, who is no stranger to police, sitting in a charcoal 2004 Honda Accord. When he saw the officers, he allegedly walked away from the vehicle but was captured. They searched the suspect and found he was carrying a loaded high-powered gun. A Golden Gates resident who lost her house in a fire will soon be getting a new home. The woman and her family celebrated as they broke ground on the property today. Bertha McDermott was there.
Upon this soil we are about to turn, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
And with those words, ground was broken on a new home for Ellen Sherman. Back in September 2022, Sherman's house was decimated by fire, leaving her with close to nothing. However, she describes today as a day of rejoicing as she will soon be turning keys to her new home.
I truly appreciate you for taking time out on a Monday morning. You know, every time I'd work, it's like, why a Monday always have to be a Monday? Why must it always be problems? Why it must always be things to solve? Why? But I thank God today is a different Monday. It's a day of rejoicing. It's a day of telling God thanks.
The house will be constructed by Arawak Homes Limited. President Frannon Wilson says after reviewing the file, they wanted to do something different.
This right here is more than just a home. This right here is a cause for celebration.
Area Member of Parliament Pia Glover-Roll reflected on the day of that dreadful fire. Glover-Roll and others banded together to assist Sherman in getting temporary housing. She added the entire situation reminds her of a song.
I remember the tears that we all cried that day on September 2nd, 2022. Those tears, the struggles that this verse speaks to. Today is a day of joy.
Wilson says the home will be completed in the next 4 months. Sherman had this wish for her new home during the building process.
I want every stage of this house to be prayed for. You understand? It's a new beginning.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Upon this soil we are about to turn.
All right, such a beautiful story. Thanks, Berthany. Well, sunny skies around the capital today, but will the pleasant weather continue into the week? Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center live with a first look at weather. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Italian. Yeah, well, we are going to see some very nice hot days for the next couple of days, and the winds are going to be very nice, so boating is going to be it's fantastic. 80 degrees outside our studios right now, a few clouds, your winds out of the northeast, still at 12 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature is at 80 degrees. Around the islands today, big upper level low spinning across the northwest Bahamas, triggering some showers and some thunderstorms mainly across the southeastern islands, maybe an isolated one or two across Grand Bahama, but that upper level low will weaken as it slides out towards the east, and of course high pressure will dominate our weather, very weak one. So we're looking for some very nice hot conditions over the next several days. That's your quick check on weather conditions around the island. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, in 1996, two Bahamians lost their lives on a value jet flight. The daughter speaking exclusively with our Jasmine Brown as she recounts the day she got the tragic call. Plus, hundreds of workers on the government's 52-week program soon to be confirmed. The Minister of State for Public Service speaks. And later, more heroes are needed to donate the gift of blood.
So one donation, it can save 3 lives. And then also you never know, the life you save can also be your own when you donate blood.
That's all coming up when Our News returns.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off lab, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
In May 1996, 110 people were killed when ValueJet Flight 592 caught fire and plunged into Florida's Everglades. Among them was a Bahamian couple who left behind a grieving family. Now, nearly 30 years later, our Jasmine Brown had an exclusive sit-down with their daughter.
I didn't hear much about plane crashing, and to hear that my parents, both parents, passed in such a way, I can't explain the feeling.
That's Angel Adderley describing the unmeasurable shock and pain she and her siblings experienced after losing her parents, Lucille and Maxwell Newbold, 27 years ago. On May 11, 1996, ValueJet Flight 592 plunged into the Florida Everglades on Mother's Day weekend, killing all 110 passengers and crew members after the plane tried to return to Miami International Airport.
I can still smell the sense of that day. I can remember the exact moment that I got the news of my parents passing.
Adderley says the trip was gifted by one of her brothers for Mother's Day, and her parents were headed to visit another brother for Parents Week at Morehouse College.
This was a time in my life when I feel every young woman, especially, needs her mother.
But as the years went by, life would go on and she would start a family of her own, getting married, having 2 sons, and gaining loving in-laws.
Life had color again.
And as she continues to raise her own family, she says the memories of her parents are never far from her mind.
I miss that they were not here to see my sons on the baseball field. I miss that they were not here as I delivered my children. I miss that my dad was not here to walk me down the aisle. I miss that. Life is hard, Jasmine. Life is hard, and the world could be really cruel. And I don't have mommy to call home to.
Now, as Adderley and dozens of other families continue to mourn the loss of their loved ones, there is still a missing piece to this puzzle, and that is that the aircraft mechanic attached to the ValueJet flight is still missing. There's currently a reward for his capture. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks for that, Jasmine. While the Department of Public Service looking to confirm 1,100 52-week program workers, that's according to State Public Service Minister Pia Glover-Roll. Glover-Roll says for decades, Bahamians have, in some instances, been on the 52-week program for decades.
That speaks to a lack of management and accountability in the program. What we have embarked upon over the past few months since this new cohort is starting is reviewing our registers and making a process ready so that we can transfer the workers that are still on the public service professional engagement program, the 52-week program, who should be now transferred to the ministries that they've been working for years. So an exercise is ongoing with that. We've already started confirmations of those individuals over the past few months.
And she says the plan is to have everyone who enrolled in the 52-week program before 2021 confirmed. As for those who recently enrolled, Glover-Roll says they too will be classified.
At the end of the 52 weeks, and they are assessed by the ministries where they are placed, then they too should be classified into the temporary month-to-month, which will then release them into the permanent and pensionable. So the process is ongoing. We're managing the process, and I think that's what was possibly lacking in the past. There wasn't a specific management of ensuring that we capture the participants at the end of their stint and ensure that they're classified. But we're fixing that that problem.
For months now, blood bank levels in the country have been low, and now Doctors Hospital is appealing to residents for more donations. Janelle Johnson, a phlebotomist at Doctors Hospital, sharing that while she could not say exactly what blood storage levels are at the hospital, donations are still needed.
With patients, we get calls like very so often for persons to have units brought up to them for like surgeries or just patients on the whole when their levels have dropped when they get checked from lab testing. Persons only come in for their family members. So once there's a family member in there, that's the only time we would have like a lot of persons come in. We have like persons who trickle in here and there throughout the week, but it would be better if we have a lot more persons come in throughout the week, you know, like almost every day. We love that.
And she adds that unfortunately, not everyone is able to give blood. Here are some of the people that land in that category.
With surgeries within maybe like a year to 6 months, you cannot donate with us as well. So you have to keep those in mind. Also, with any major illnesses or traits of like sickle cell, we wouldn't be able to get blood from you. With the tattoos, most definitely, but it's only within the year. If you've gotten a new tattoo, you wouldn't be able to donate with us. Also, with surgeries within maybe like a year to 6 months, you cannot donate with us.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, after not having a home to call their own due to Hurricane Dorian, 5 families have been gifted with new homes in the East Grand Bahama community. Hear which organizations teamed up for the special effort.
The CONCACAF 2023 Beach Tournament concludes. The Bahamas National Rugby Finals are set for this weekend, and Klay Thompson and the Warriors are bounced from the NBA playoffs over the weekend. Stay right there for our sports.
Sunny skies for the start of the work week following a wet weekend. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center right after this quick break. Stay with us.
Shareholders are very happy.
Reminds you to game responsibly.
For 38 years, Struckham Commercial Pest Services has provided trained certified technicians while using environmentally safe, industry-standard products. Pests can devastate your business. Together, we will ensure adequate sanitation standards and safe pest exclusion methods. Uncontrolled pest problems lead to significant financial loss due to food contamination, business disruption, and stock waste. Struckham provides detailed solutions protecting your business and reputation. Struckham, #1 in pest control services.
How is your day going?
In a word, busy. 6 a.m. gym, 7 a.m. breakfast, 8 a.m. drop the kids to school, 9 to 3 back-to-back meetings with working lunch, of course, 4 p.m. pick up the kids, 4:15 dog groomer. Oh, but that reminds me, oh dear.
Is something wrong?
Yeah, I double booked my 6 p.m. Charity committee versus helping out at the kids' ballet. Oh, it's a tough one. I promised the kids.
Which one are you going to reschedule?
Neither. Divide and conquer. My husband can handle his own on the dance floor.
It's a good thing your money's been just as busy.
RF, keeping your money busy with investment products and services that match your needs.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. Team Bahamas wraps up the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Cup and the rugby semifinals conclude over the weekend. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Italia. Good evening and welcome to Our Sports. The 2023 CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championships are all wrapped up with the USA, our neighbors to the north, taking their third crown over Mexico 5-0. The Bahamas came fourth overall in the tournament. The Bahamas finished the 2023 CONCACAF Beach Soccer Cup tournament in fourth place after a 3-2 loss to El Salvador in the tournament's third place game on Sunday evening. The Salvadorian team jumped out in front of the home team, grabbing a 3-0 lead halfway through the second period. However, the Bahamas would rally back thanks to goals from James Thompson and Kyle Williams to make the game 3-2. Unfortunately for the hometown heroes, El Salvador would thwart their attempts to score their final goal and send the game into penalties. Now, they ended up in the third place game after a 3-2 loss to Mexico in the semis, meaning that the Bahamas is only 2 goals away from appearing in the Beach Soccer World Cup. Those last 2 losses in the tournament were tough for the Bahamas, but it was great that they showed that they could go toe-for-toe with any soccer team in the world. We should applaud them. We should be proud of their efforts. Moving on to rugby, the Bahamas rugby finals are all set for this weekend. The National Rugby Finals are all set for this Saturday. Freeport RFC out of Grand Bahama will take on a combined squad of Bailu and Buccaneers players. The match is scheduled for this Saturday, May 20th at 3 p.m. at the Winton Rugby Pitch. It's always a fun family party out there, so be sure to check that out this weekend. And finally, Klay Thompson and his Golden State Warriors were eliminated from the NBA playoffs on Friday night. Klay Thompson scored only 8 points on 3 of 19 shooting as his Warriors lost to the Los Angeles Lakers 122-101. Steph Curry had 32 to lead the Warriors, while LeBron James had 39-9. With an aging roster and younger role players who didn't quite pan out, look for some changes to come from the Dubs roster in the offseason. That was your look at sports. I'm Tej Adderley.
Still ahead on our news tonight, after almost 4 years of not having a home to call their own, several families in the East Grand Bahama community were gifted with new homes. Hear who's behind this latest effort. And nice temperatures on this Monday following a rainy weekend. Greg is back with your extended weather forecast when our news returns.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. Team Bahamas wraps up the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Cup and the rugby semifinals conclude over the weekend. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Italia. Good evening and welcome to Our Sports. The 2023 CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championships are all wrapped up with the USA, our neighbors to the north, taking their third crown over Mexico 5-0. The Bahamas came fourth overall in the tournament. The Bahamas finished the 2023 CONCACAF Beach Soccer Cup tournament in fourth place after a 3-2 loss to El Salvador in the tournament's third place game on Sunday evening. The Salvadorian team jumped out in front of the home team, grabbing a 3-0 lead halfway through the second period. However, the Bahamas would rally back thanks to goals from James Thompson and Kyle Williams to make the game 3-2. Unfortunately for the hometown heroes, El Salvador would thwart their attempts to score their final goal and send the game into penalties. Now, they ended up in the third place game after a 3-2 loss to Mexico in the semis, meaning that the Bahamas is only 2 goals away from appearing in the Beach Soccer World Cup. Those last 2 losses in the tournament were tough for the Bahamas, but it was great that they showed that they could go toe-for-toe with any soccer team in the world. We should applaud them. We should be proud of their efforts. Moving on to rugby, the Bahamas rugby finals are all set for this weekend. The National Rugby Finals are all set for this Saturday. Freeport RFC out of Grand Bahama will take on a combined squad of Bailu and Buccaneers players. The match is scheduled for this Saturday, May 20th at 3 p.m. at the Winton Rugby Pitch. It's always a fun family party out there, so be sure to check that out this weekend. And finally, Klay Thompson and his Golden State Warriors were eliminated from the NBA playoffs on Friday night.
Klay Thompson scored only 8 points on 3 of 19 shooting as his Warriors lost to the Los Angeles Lakers 122-101. Steph Curry had 32 to lead the Warriors, while LeBron James had 39-9. With an aging roster and younger role players who didn't quite pan out, look for some changes to come from the Dubs roster in the offseason.
That was your look at sports. I'm Tage Adderley.
Still ahead on our news tonight, after almost 4 years of not having a home to call their own, several families in the East Grand Bahama community were gifted with new homes. Hear who's behind this latest effort. And nice temperatures on this Monday following a rainy weekend. Greg is back with your extended weather forecast when our news returns.
Welcome back to our news. A sunny start to the work week and temperatures are expected to remain warm. Greg is back in the Weather Center live with your extended forecast. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back everybody for a final look at weather. You did mention the warm temperatures we expect for the next several days, and of course we're asking you residents to make sure you prepare accordingly, limit your outdoor activity, and make sure you stay hydrated. Drink lots of water over the next couple of days as we are going to see some very warm temperatures as high pressure remains in charge. In the meantime, though, we have an upper level low spinning across the northwest Bahamas, generating some showers and some thunderstorms near the southeast Bahamas. Bulk of the weather is actually out in the open Atlantic to the east of the islands, but that upper level low will continue to weaken. Light winds expected with this high pressure across us for the next several days, and boating conditions would be rather nice. The future forecast showing most of the activity, as I said, out there in the open Atlantic, showers and isolated thunderstorms across our area, quiet weather through tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, nothing much, just a spotty shower or two expected in the forecast. Taking a look at our boating conditions for all areas tonight to tomorrow, your winds will be light and variable tonight, but they become variable at 5 to 10 knots tomorrow. Seas running 1 to 3 feet over the ocean. Tide is presently high, will be low at 11:53 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In the extended forecast, quiet weather over the next several days, and of course we will keep a spotty shower during the mid-afternoon, late afternoon hours, but notice those temperatures, they are approaching the 90-degree mark, so it's going to be very hot for the next several days. That's a look at our weather. Back to Italia.
Several organizations, along with the Rotary Clubs in Grand Bahama, coming together over the weekend to assist residents with their rebuilding efforts following Hurricane Dorian. In East End, 5 new homes were dedicated to 5 mothers on Mother's Day. It's a special initiative by Rotary Clubs in Grand Bahama for 5 homeowners who lost their homes during Hurricane Dorian in the East Grand Bahama community. Residents were able to return to their community on Sunday after being gifted with new homes. Immediate past area governor Billie Jane Ferguson explaining the project is a collaborative effort, while district area governor Othniel Pinder says he's proud of the organization's accomplishments over the years.
We've decided to, along with our partners, the TK Foundation, Team Seagrape, AG Cliff, and the team, the Rotary team, the Disaster Relief Committee team, we've decided to come into the eastern end of Grand Bahama Island to continue our efforts in building homes for those residents who was affected by Dorian.
Rotary in the upcoming year will continue the efforts that you see here today, and that's one of the things we just want to continue to build on what is happening and bringing some kind of comfort and some kind of peace back to our communities.
President of the Rotary Club of Grand Bahama, Donovan Bowe, and President of the Rotary Club of Sunrise, Curly McPhee, say it's an honor to give back.
Personally, it's a great feeling of satisfaction to see individuals in the community that I'm from receiving these generous gifts.
When you look at today really isn't even about a Rotarian. It's about persons that were affected from Dorian to now and finally getting the help, that was needed.
Margaret Lethan Hall, a recipient of one of the 5 homes, says she's grateful to be back in the community of East End.
Thanks unto the Almighty God
through him that allowed me to get another roof over my head. So God has been good to me. Not just me only, but to me and my son.
All right, and to see that story again, you can visit ournews.bs. With that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.